Hey guys, in this video I'm going to explain exactly how the star core you get is chosen in Magic Chess Season 12. I hope I'm able to answer every question everyone has, and if there's still a question left unanswered, ask it in the comments and I will try to get an answer for it. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. I do tutorials and guides for synergies, commander skills and mechanics in Magic Chess. If you enjoy this type of content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and comment. Now, without further ado, let us get started. First, let us start with the definition of a star core. A star core is a special item which can be equipped on a hero to trigger certain special effects. Star cores are divided by synergy and can only be equipped on members of the synergy, not including crystal members. That is, you cannot equip it on a hero who is a member of the synergy because he has a crystal. It has to be a natural member of the synergy. There are 17 synergies in Magic Chess with star cores, and these are Blazing Bounties, Archer, Assassin, Astro Power, pHeeDr Riverlands, Elementalist, Forsaken Light, Future Tech, Gunner, Mage, Nature Spirit, Saber, Scarlet Shadow, Swordsman, Weapon Master, Wrestler, and Wormslayer Warrior. Those are the 17 star cores we have in Magic Chess. They're also divided by elemental affinity, which determines the special effects on this core. You have fire, water, earth, thunder, wind, light, dark, mystic, and arcana. You can get a total of 2 star cores every game on the 8th and 14th round respectively. Throughout this video, I'm going to refer to these cores as the primary core and the secondary core. That is, the primary core is the first core you get, that's the one you get on the 8th round, and the secondary core is the one you get on the 14th round, that is the second core you get. The definition of a star core is understood by everyone. The problem lies in the how. How do you know which star core you get? How can you get the same star cores every time? That is what I will try to explain in this video, and I will do it by performing a series of experiments in the video. I've gotten many comments about how my videos have a school type of feeling, which is what you would expect from a science student. But this time I'm going to try my best to explain every step of the way, and I will do that by asking a question and testing to find the answers to the question. Like I said, if there's any questions left unanswered, just ask in the comments. Now the first question is, how is the primary core chosen? The choices of primary cores given to you will be determined by the heroes you deploy on the 7th round. This right here is the 7th round, but because it's the practice mode, it's not a creep defense round. Normally this round is supposed to be a creep defense round. Now in this place, as you can see, I just deployed Badang. If you deploy just Badang on the 7th round, there is a chance you will get the Astro Power and Wrestler star cores among the options, because you only have Badang. Those are Badang's synergies. You have Astro Power and Wrestler. If it was Layla you deployed, now look at this, you have Astro Power in the options, you have Wrestler in the options as well. Now we'll still get to the third core, but just remember that if you are deployed Layla's synergies are Saber and Gunner. So the star cores you will get are Saber, and you would have Saber and Gunner among the options. If you deployed Mia, then there is a chance you will have Nature Spirit and Archer among the options. The reason I say there's a chance, of course, because in a real game you will not only have one hero deployed in this round, you will most likely have 5 or 6. I will still discuss that later on. But just remember that the synergies of the hero you have will always be among the options. Question 2. Can your primary core be of any synergy? That is the first core you get. Can you get any synergy as your first core? The simple answer is no. There are some synergies that you can only get as secondary cores. You can only get them as the second core. I will refer to these synergies as secondary synergies because you cannot get them first, you have to get them second. And these synergies are Ablaze Bounties, Assassin, Forsaken Light, Future Tech, Scarlet Shadow, and Swordsman. Basically, the 4 hero synergies, you cannot get them as your primary core. You can only get them as the second core. Now, with that out of the way, let us go to the next question and the most important one. When you do not have any hero deployed or on the deck, as in this place you don't have any hero at all, in this case the 3 choices for your primary core will be randomly decided from the 11 primary synergies. Now as you can see, I don't have any hero and I was given Archer, Weapon Master and Nature Spirit. Just 3 random synergies from the 11 primary synergies. Now the primary synergies, like I said, are the synergies that you can get either as your first core or your second core, while the secondary synergies are the ones you can only get as the second core. So if I do this again, I will get 3 different synergies. So when you don't have any hero deployed on the deck, the 3 choices you get will be 100% random. Number 4, when you do not have any hero deployed like this, but you have the heroes on the deck, in this case the 3 synergies you get, the 3 choices, will still be randomly decided from the 11 primary synergies. Right, this means that for you to get a call from a primary synergy, the hero has to be deployed. As you can see, I bought Sun on the deck here, which means I was supposed to get pHeeDr Riverlands or Weapon Master calls. But instead I got Archer, Astro Power and Wormslayer because I didn't deploy. So for you to get a call from a primary synergy, the hero has to be deployed. Number 5, when you deploy heroes with secondary synergies only, for example, deploying Hayabusa, Hanzo and Natalia like I did here, their synergies here are Scarlet Shadow, Future Tech, Assassin and Swordsman. Those 4 synergies are all secondary synergies. That means you can't get them as your first core. In this case, the 3 choices you get for your primary cores will still be random. They will just pick 3 random synergies and give it to you here. This is just because you cannot get secondary synergies as your primary core. So what you get here will be random. Number 6, when you only have 1 or 2 primary synergies, for example, deploying Kimi and Lancelot, there are 3 synergies between them. That is, you have Wormslayer and Gunner, which are primary synergies, and Swordsman, which is a secondary synergy. As proven in number 6, you cannot get Swordsman as your primary core, so you only have 2 primary synergies here, Wormslayer and Gunner. In this case, you will get Wormslayer and Gunner among your options. Then the third core will be picked randomly from the remaining 9. As you can see, you have Wormslayer and Gunner here. While the third one was chosen randomly, the random option was Saber. So if you have 1 or 2 primary synergies, those 2 primary synergies will always be among the options, while the third one will be chosen randomly. If you have just 1 primary synergy, that 1 primary synergy will be there, while the other 2 will be picked randomly. I hope that makes sense. Number 7, when you have exactly 3 primary synergies, for example deploying Layla and Lancelot like this. In this case, you have 3 primary synergies. You have Wormslayer, you have Saber, and you have Gunner. You have Swordsman, which is not a primary synergy. As we've proven already, you can't get that one first. So, when you have exactly 3 primary synergies, these 3 synergies will be given to you as the options for your primary cores every single time. So, if you have this arrangement, now you have just Layla and Lancelot on your team. You don't have any other hero, just these 2. You are always going to get Wormslayer, Gunner, and Saber. Every time, you're always going to get Wormslayer and Gunner Wormslayer, Gunner and Saber every time. And it doesn't have to be just these 2. You have many other combinations. But as long as you only have 3 primary synergies, you will get exactly the same thing. Wormslayer, Gunner, and Saber. For this example, you have the exact same thing. Wormslayer, Gunner, and Saber every single time. You have it every single time. So this is the first like real way to actually get the core you want every single time. But the problem is that you can't do this in the Creep Defense round. You won't win with just these 2 heroes. So we'll still get to the point. Now one thing I need you to notice is that we've not triggered any synergy yet. In all the examples so far, we've not triggered any synergy. We just have 1 member of the synergy there. Right? When you trigger a synergy, right, the entire game is different. But for now, we only have members of the synergy here. So that's why it's very easy to manipulate actually. But once you trigger a synergy, but when we get there, you'll understand what I mean. So you've seen what happens when you have less than 3 primary synergies. You've seen what happens when you have exactly 3 primary synergies. Now this example is going to show you what happens when you have more than 3 primary synergies. In this example now, we have Badang, we have Zilong, and we have Roger. As you can see, we have 6 synergies here. You have 6 synergies here, and all of them are primary synergies. You have Weapon Master, you have Gunner, you have Wrestler, you have Nature Spirit, Astro Power, and pHeeDr Riverlands. All of these are primary synergies. They're synergies you can get, first. So in this case, when you have more than 3 primary synergies, 3 of them will be chosen at random. Right, so this is one place where you still have random selection. In this situation here, 3 out of the 6 that we have deployed here, let's not say triggered, 3 out of the 6 we've deployed here will be chosen as the star core. Let's just see it. Come on, speed up. And as you can see, we have pHeeDr, Nature Spirit, and Astral Power. Those were the 3 that were chosen at random. Those we have pHeeDr from Zilong. It actually picked this time. I got lucky and it picked 1 core from each of the heroes. pHeeDr from Zilong, Nature Spirit from Roger, and Astral Power from Adam. Sometimes you could get pHeeDr, like in this place I could have gone pHeeDr, Riverlands, and Weapon Master. I could have gone Nature Spirit and Gunner. Just I could have gone Astral Power and Restless. It's just random. When you have more than 3 primary synergies, it's just picked at random. Now let's go to what happens when you trigger a synergy. Now the first thing is when you trigger just one synergy. When you trigger just one primary synergy, I've already shown that if you trigger a secondary synergy, or if you have a secondary synergy, you won't get the core even if it's the only synergy. So we don't have to talk about secondary synergy. But when you look at primary synergies, when you trigger a primary synergy, in this lump of heroes here, we have Roger and Kemi. They are triggering 2 gunners. And then you have all these other heroes that are triggering 10 other synergies. Now, the first thing here is that you will always get that synergy that you triggered. So in this example here, I'm going to get the gunner synergy. That is constant. Then the other 2 cores will come at random from the other 10 synergies that are just present there. Now let's see what cores I'll get. I'm going to get the gunner synergy. That one is going to be constant. And then the other 2, pHeeDr was from Cho, and the Elementalist was from Valor. The other 2 synergies, the other 2 cores I get will be picked from the other synergies that are there. So if you trigger one primary synergy, you will get that primary synergy as your core. You always get that primary synergy as the core, while the other 2 cores will be chosen as random. So that is number 9. When you trigger a primary synergy, that synergy triggered will be prioritized among the options. Now when you have 2 synergies triggered, in this game I have the gunner and mage synergies triggered. I used synergies that do not have any correlation normally to buttress the point. When you have 2 synergies triggered, those 2 synergies that you triggered are going to take priority in the cores. Now the 2 synergies I have triggered are gunner and mage, so I'm going to get the gunner and mage cores. And the other cores will be either weapon master, archer, elementalist. As you can see, gunner, mage, you get them there. And then you have elementalist. Elemental was chosen at random this time out of all the other synergies that are there. Elementalist. It could have been Saber, it could have been Astral Power, it could have been Wormslayer, it could have been pHeeDr, but elementalist was chosen. So that's number 10. When you trigger 2 synergies, you will get those 2 synergies as your cores, included in the cores. That is 2 primary synergies. Please let's not forget that. When you trigger 2 primary synergies, on the 7th round, you will get those 2 primary synergies as your cores, as your primary core, and then the 3rd core will be chosen as random from all the other primary synergies that you have. And if you don't have any other primary synergies on the board, then it will just be picked as random from any of the primary synergies available in the game. And let's look at what happens when you have 3. Of course, if you can kind of predict what will happen if you have 3 synergies triggered. Those 3 synergies that you triggered if you trigger those same 3 synergies every single time, those 3 synergies will always be the options that you get. Right, so but let's check it out as an example. Now this next example actually is secret material from my next tutorial. I mentioned in the last video that I was going to make a tutorial for the new and improved Wormslayer Warrior plus Swordsman combo, and I discovered this very nice starting lineup that you can use to always get the same selection of cores. Now if you look at the synergies we have triggered, we have Angel. Angel is a 0 synergy. A 0 synergy is a synergy that doesn't have a core. Swordsman is a secondary, so you can't get it, which means that you're left with Wormslayer, Saber, and Gunner. Those are 3 primary synergies, and I have triggered 3 of them, which means that I'm always going to get those 3 cores every time: Saber, Gunner, and Wormslayer. As you can see, Wormslayer, Saber, Gunner. I'm always going to get these 3 synergies every single time. All you need is this lineup right here: Lancelot, Link. Those are the 2 swordsmen. And then you have this. Swordsman does not, is a secondary synergy, so you can't get it anyway. Then you have Angel as well. Angel is a 0 synergy. Like I said, 0 synergies are synergies that do not have star cores. And then you have Gunner here. You also have Saber. So Saber is a primary synergy, Wormslayer is also a primary synergy, and Gunner is a primary synergy. Now if you have these 6 heroes, you can't get Link early. So you may just have to make do with Marshall value. But because you do not trigger the Wrestler or Elementalist, you will most likely not get you will not get the core, not even most likely, you will not get those cores. So you will always get these same cores as long as you have these heroes. You will always get Wormslayer, you will always get Gunner, and you will always get Saber if you have these heroes. This is what you will always get every time. So if you have 3 synergies triggered, those 3 synergies will always be the options you get. Now what happens when you trigger 4 synergies? It is like what happens when you have many synergies. I'm not going to show that one as an example, I'm just going to explain it. When you trigger 4 synergies, 4 primary synergies, let's just assume that you somehow managed to trigger 4 primary synergies before the placement stage. The first round. I don't know how you want to do that, but let's just assume you managed to do it. If you do manage to trigger 4 primary synergies, then just 3 out of them will be chosen at random and you will have them here. Right? Now, the next question. That should explain every single thing about the primary cores. The primary cores, those are the first cores that you get, in the game. And you can get them from primary synergies. Those are synergies that you can use to get your first cores. Now what about the secondary? What about the secondary cores? That is the second core. Are there any rules guiding it as well? Well, it's very simple. Unlike the primary cores, the secondary cores just have one rule. Secondary cores are going to be related to the primary core. That is, the secondary core is going to be a faction of the first core or a role of the first core. Now in this game, I'm going to pick the Wormslayer core. I'm going to pick the Wormslayer core here, and then I'm going to we're going to wait until the second core. So I will come back when I get to the second core. Now you might have noticed one thing. I changed my team. I picked the Wormslayer core. You can still see the Wormslayer core here. I picked the Wormslayer core, but now this is Astro Assassin. It's nothing related to Wormslayer. So what core do you think I will get? You might think I'll get Astro core, but no. Like I said, your second core is going to be related to your first core. So it doesn't matter what you have. You can remove all the heroes here. You can just not deploy anything, and the core you get will still be. It has already been decided from the moment you picked your primary core. Basically, from the moment you picked your primary core, your secondary core was already decided. Now, just remember that I picked the Wormslayer core. Now I'm playing Astro Assassin. But what cores will I get? You see, Wrestler, Swordsman, and Elementalist. Now, okay, Wrestler. You might think, okay, Wrestler is an Astro power. We have by that. But then what about the Swordsman? What about the Elementalist? I said, the secondary core you get, that is the second core you get, will always be related to your first core. Wrestler, Swordsman, and Elementalist are in the Wormslayer. These are Wormslayer roles. Since I picked the Wormslayer core first, these were always going to be my options. It didn't matter what else I build. It doesn't matter what else I build after picking the Wormslayer core. This is still going to be. That's why sometimes you might have a situation where you're building something, you got the core, then you change your mind and start building something else, but yeah, you were still getting a different core. That's because the secondary core is always going to be related to your primary core. I've already explained how the primary core is chosen. If there's still anything there that is unclear, you can go back and watch it. I did my best to explain everything thoroughly. But for the secondary core, the second core is always going to be related to this first synergy. And for the secondary core, you can have secondary synergy. Like you see Swordsman here, you can't get Swordsman first, but you can get Swordsman second. And you may have noticed one thing. Gunner is a Wormslayer role, but it's not here. That's because, like I said, there's 4 roles in the Wormslayer. So you pick 3 out of those ones, and the random selection just did not pick Gunner here. So, in short, the secondary core, the choices of secondary core is simple. If your primary core was a faction, then the secondary core will be a role of that faction. As in the example here, you pick the Wormslayer core as your primary core, then you will always get 3 of Elementalist, Wrestler, Swordsman, or Gunner as your choices for the secondary core. And note that these 4 synergies are the primary or secondary roles in the Wormslayer faction. And also, you can't get zero synergies as your cores because they don't have cores. And that explains everything about how the primary and secondary star cores are chosen. In summary, the primary cores depend on, let me just quickly re-summarize. In summary, the primary cores depend on what synergies you have triggered. Well, not triggered. The trigger is still part of the synergies triggered, but the synergies you have, if you have not triggered any synergy, then it's just going to randomly pick any synergies that you have on the board. If you've triggered a synergy, then it's going to prioritize the synergies you've triggered, and then after it has done that, it's going to pick randomly from the other synergies. And for the secondary core is always going to be related to your first core. And then you need to remember that there are some synergies that you cannot get as your first core. Those are called secondary synergies, and you can only get them as your secondary star core. Now you can still get primary synergies as your secondary star core, though. The word primary there just means that you can get it first, while secondary synergy means you cannot get it first, that you can only get it second. I hope that makes sense. I hope I did not confuse anybody with my school lecture type video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.